I've been lucky enough to get my hands on the brand new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7. And while at a quick glance, it might look somewhat familiar, there are some really exciting upgrades here. From a major change to the form factor to a big camera update. So there's a lot to like, especially if you're serious about photo and video and don't want to sacrifice features to get those added benefits from using a foldable. Honestly, this might be the most refined fold yet. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump in. So first impressions, this is easily the most thoughtfully designed Galaxy Fold we've seen. Yes, a familiar Galaxy Z Fold design in some ways, but the big standout here is the much slimmer design and improved form factor. It just feels so much nicer in hand and way less bulky in your pocket. This thinness is seriously impressive. Just look at it next to my S25 Ultra, barely thicker at all. Side by side, it's hard to believe this is even a fold. This race for thinness will continue, but they really can't go much further. Pretty much as thin as that USB-C port allows it to be. Compared to the Fold 6, when unfolded, we go from 5.6 millimeters down just to 4.2 millimeters. And when folded, it shrinks from 12.1 down to 8.9 millimeters. A seriously noticeable difference. It's also notably lighter as well, down to just 215 grams from 239 in the Fold 6. In fact, it's even now slightly lighter than the S25 Ultra, which is pretty wild considering this unfolds into this huge screen. Speaking of screens, we're getting more real estate here too. The cover display is now 6.5 inches, up from 6.3, and the main screen growing from 7.6 now to 8 inches. The displays both have a peak brightness of 2600 nits and are made from Corning Gorilla Glass Ceramic 2 on the cover screen and Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the main. Both dynamic AMOLED 2X with an adaptive refresh rate of 1 to 120 Hz. Both really bright and beautiful in all conditions, and visually that crease line only seems to get better and better as well. Honestly, not even noticing it unless you really go looking for it. Total dimensions, the phone is now about 4 millimeters wider when folded and nearly 10 millimeters wider when open. I think this also contributes to much more natural feeling hand and definitely a far better experience using that cover screen. So all these changes really push this form factor forward. It just feels so much more usable to me and means I'm far more likely now to make the switch from my Galaxy S25 Ultra. Overall, it does feel noticeably tougher when opening and closing. The hinge has more resistance when opening, but in a good way. It feels sturdy and solid and has that satisfying when you close it, much like a premium car door. It does, however, keep the same IPX8 rating. As for colors, we've got Silver Shadow shown here, Blue Shadow, Jet Black, and an online exclusive of Mint. It also comes in 256 and 512 gigabytes and a 1 terabyte storage option. Check those prices in your area, and with memory from 12 to 16 gigabytes. So some really big changes. But as foldables keep getting thinner, what are we actually sacrificing? There has to be something, right? To me, it's about really striking that balance, keeping them thin while keeping them as close to flagship specs as possible. And honestly, I think this strikes that balance really well. So despite this thinness, it manages to keep that same 4,400 milliamp battery, which seems to perform really well, perhaps down to further efficiency improvements. It's also powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy. It runs Android 16 with Samsung's One UI. So feeling really fast, whether multitasking, running photo, video apps, or just jumping between games and editing tools. Charging, we have 25 watt super fast charging, fast wireless charging 2.0, and wireless power share. One thing you do lose is the S Pen capability on the Fold 7, which might be bad news for some, potentially part of reducing that size down, removing that extra layer required on the screens. But as someone who doesn't actually use the S Pen on my S25 Ultra, I can't comment too much as I honestly won't notice. So camera-wise, we also have a nice update, which again is a great surprise when you consider this new form factor. It now supports a 200 megapixel main camera with a larger sensor and an f1.7 equivalent aperture, meaning better, brighter images, especially in darker conditions. This is a massive update to me, especially considering they've actually fit in a larger sensor in here, meaning you now get basically the same 1x from the S25 Ultra. Of course, due to the thinness, the cameras do stick out a little bit, but not much you can do about that if you want the best of both worlds. We keep the same 12 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide and the same 10 megapixel f2.4 3x tele camera, which for a fold of this thinness is a really solid lineup. Here are a bunch of examples I've shot on the Fold 7, starting with that new 200 megapixel wide camera. Now moving on to the ultra wide. And of course, the 3x tele lens. So even on my S25 Ultra, I honestly use the 1x camera the most. It's my go-to, the image quality is excellent, and there's plenty of flexibility to crop in when you need to. So for the way I shoot, that focal length just feels far more natural and versatile anyway. So with this update, I'm honestly not missing out on much from switching to the Fold. For anyone serious about their photo and video, this phone's packed with features that actually make a big difference. We now get a log profile for video, which is a big win for dynamic range. Another obvious benefit if you're regularly vlogging or filming yourself is being able to use those main cameras and still see yourself on that front screen. This is incredibly handy. That big inner display is also perfect for on-the-go editing, reviewing your shots at full screen with clients, or doing select straight from Lightroom. And something that's often overlooked, the ability to use the rear cameras for your selfies. This honestly is a huge upgrade in quality for anyone taking regular selfies. Of course, you also open up a bunch of Galaxy AI features. I won't dive into all of them in this video. Most of them you can find in my Galaxy S25 Ultra review, which I have a video on linked here. If you are ever unsure on what AI features the phone has, simply go into your settings and you can find an entire list here, where you can also turn some of them off. At the same time, we've also got the release of the Galaxy Watch 8 and Galaxy Watch 8 Classic, also with some pretty exciting updates. The design in particular really stands out. It looks sleek and refined, and I'm really keen to check these out as well, especially the Classic. But is it really worth switching to a foldable in 2025? For my kind of use, this generation certainly makes a much stronger case. You're no longer dealing with those big trade-offs, things like that extra bulk in your pocket. The outer screen finally feels more natural to use, and you're still getting top-tier hardware, including that 200 megapixel wide camera. So if you're someone who'll actually use that larger display regularly, it adds real value, even at this price point. Multitasking is by far better, whether it's running multiple apps, comparing edits side by side, or just copying from one screen to another. Editing photos and videos is also just a much smoother and more enjoyable experience on that main screen. screen. And thanks to things like flex mode, you've basically got a built-in tripod for things like hand-free shooting, time lapses, Zoom calls, and this is generally useful in a number of real-world situations. It also opens up new possibilities for photo and video, new ways to frame different angles, and just makes that solo shooting much easier. So if you're the kind of person that's really going to take advantage of that versatility, this is absolutely worth considering. With all of these neat upgrades, it really is a seriously well-refined foldable that ticks so many important boxes to me. But I'd love to hear what you think. Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and thanks so much for watching. And as always, keep shooting, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.